I was at St. Mary's undergrad from 2009 to 13. I started off as an HHP major. Halfway through, realized I didn't really want to dedicate my life to science. That's just not the side of my brain that I work with, but it's okay. And switched over to sports management. And being here today is so special to me because, y'all, like, I literally did my first internship because of a class just like this. This is how I found out about rec sports. You know, it was a panel like this. Mark Orr came in and talked. A few different departments came in and talked. And then our previous director, Corey, came in and was talking about fitness, wellness. You know, there was a sport club aspect of things. There's intramural sports. It was everything that I was kind of looking for, but in one small hub. So I did my internship, fell in love with it during the internship, ended up staying on as the student coordinator. Worked in so many different departments. At that time, like I mentioned, there was one office, so we handled a bunch of different things. It was much smaller than it is today. And so I had my hand in so many different pots. I quickly realized, I was a junior at that time, realized, okay, this is what I want to do, so how do I get there? So getting into rec sports is a little different than getting into pro sports, similar to college athletics, but what you'll want to do in most scenarios is find out how you can go about getting a master's. So it's not, 100% written into the stone that, you have to have your master's to work in rec sports, but it is definitely strongly assumed that you will have gone that extra step and gotten that master's. So that was my first step. I had to find some connections, I had to get some more experience. So Professor Williams and Corey, our previous director, connected me with Bill Manning. Does anyone know Bill Manning? Yes, awesome. If you don't know him, get to know him. He is amazing. He is one of my mentors. Love him. And he actually worked in rec sports for a long time. He used to be the director of recreational sports over at UC Berkeley, so he's super well connected. I told him kind of what I was looking to do. So my junior summer, I went over to Cal and did my first internship there. At that point, I did it in aquatics. It was the only opening that they had. I think that, anyone who works in sports will tell you that, it's may not always be ideal to what you're looking to do, but as long as you can get your foot into the door, you'll most likely be work hard enough to be able to evolve what you're doing. So I worked in aquatics for that summer, made some connections, came back, started looking for grad school because I knew that was going to be my next step. I didn't necessarily need to go right after I graduated, but I knew if I stopped and started making some money, I probably would have a less desire to go back. So Bill Manning, again, was amazing. I had talked to him about my goals again. We refocused, started looking at different schools. I was super open to going anywhere. I don't know why, but I had this special calling to the South. I don't know why, but I ended up doing my master's program at the University of Southern Mississippi. For aquatics. Going from a small private school to a mid-sized public institution is a complete shift. I had kind of gotten a taste of that at Cal because they're obviously a huge public institution, but going to Southern Miss and living there and kind of meeting different students, understanding, working with different people, working for a very traditional institution, and Southern Miss is a huge, they're super well known for their recreational sports program, so that was a huge experience for me. So then, I knew, obviously, I needed to get a job. My grad program was ending. What am I going to do? I had applied for some jobs in Florida, some jobs in the South, and things were working out, but it just wasn't going to feel like it was going to stick for me. So luckily, it was just a strike of fate, or a strike of, I don't know, awesomeness, for lack of a better word at this point. I had come home to visit my mom. She was on this side of the bay, and I had kept in touch with my Cal connections. And all of a sudden I get a phone call out of the blue from one of the associate directors that I had stayed in touch with that said that they were having an opening in their department. It was for a graduate internship, so going along with that, being open to whatever. Obviously it wasn't a full-time coordinator position like I was looking for, but it got me into one of the best sport club programs within the nation. Cal, if you decide to look into rec sports, or if you know about club sports, if you're on a sport club team, you probably heard about Cal. I think last year we had 26 out of our 34 sport clubs win national titles. So it's a super well-known program. And so I got in there, and throughout the year I got asked to take on additional responsibilities. Communications became one of my responsibilities as someone had transitioned out of our department. And ended up this summer getting hired on full-time as a communications and outreach coordinator. the National Intramural Recreational Sports Association is the association a bunch of colleges across the campus or across the nation will kind of abide by. So they kind of set out some guiding principles. We have conferences every year. It's super awesome. NERSA is a huge networking community, and so it's not a shock that you would need to network a lot to kind of, in any organization, any aspect of sports, you're going to want to network. It's kind of who you know and a little bit of what you know, right? Because you can learn on the go, but until you have those networking, you've had that experience, that will do more for you transactionally, getting jobs and things like that. But then, it's one thing to network, maintaining relationships. That is like, if I can stress anything, any two things, I guess, networking and maintaining those networking relationships, because I can guarantee you I would not be in the place I am today had I not maintained my relationships with Cal, had I not maintained a relationship with Bill, with Claire. I mean, I would not be as, the person that I am today without that. And then taking risks. Don't be afraid to do it. I mean, moving across the country is scary. But, if you're doing it for a graduate assistantship or something like that, it's only 1 or 2 years. You can live anywhere for a few years. And I guarantee you'll learn something new about yourself. Anyone that I've known that's taken a huge risk like that, it's always paid off. What you put out into the world, you'll get back. And so, taking that risk is huge. And then getting any experience. So, internships are everything. Experience is everything. I mean, you can talk about a budget as much as you want, but until you work with a budget and have that experiential education, it doesn't mean as much. And then, event planning. I mean, when I was in college, I was like, oh yeah, I know event planning. Event planning is awesome. Like, I've planned one event in my life at Rec Sports, get to my graduate assistantship, have an event for like 100 people. Much different experience, right? So, getting any experience. And, there's experiences that you may not even understand that will play into your life, right? When I was in college, I worked at a rafting company. How did I know then, working as a manager at a rafting company, talking to people all day long would help me with what I do today in outreach and going and talking to people on campus and maintaining relationships on a college campus. And then the one thing that doesn't work is trying to resist change. So your life is going to change inevitably in the next 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. And just making sure that you're going to be able to buckle up, get ready for the ride, and just go. I think anyone can speak to the fact that life changes. Anything changes, but it's all good. So yeah, I can talk to you a little bit more about like how to get involved, things like that, where you can look for positions.